the DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Midday Market Report for Thursday, January 12th, 2023. Back-to-back Thursdays now. Myself and Andrew are getting together. We usually come on Wednesday at 1. Happens in our business. We get behind the scenes and we start talking. The next thing you know, it's been an hour and he's got another show in 15, 20 minutes. So he said, why not bring it back here today? We're going to start. This gentleman here was a kid in a candy store. He had the smile out to here. I knew he was going to the semifinal game. There was no doubt in my mind, USA and Canada. And then, of course, just happens to make it to the finals as Canada prevails, wins the gold in the juniors, the ECSI VIPs. We talked about after Canada lost the first game, if you wanted a skin in the game, grab some Canada plus 100, and they pulled in Argentina. Wasn't easy, but they did what they had to do. Talent every which way, every line talent. Of course, a generational talent with Mr. Bedard heading into this year's draft. But let's talk to the expert, the one who knows a lot more than I do, the one and only Mr. Andrew McInnis.
Well, I certainly don't know as much as you, but I follow hockey quite a bit, and I'll tell you, man, it was a lot of fun. Great to be here with you, Jeff, after we chatted quite a bit yesterday off air. And, first of all, hats off to you for calling it. I mean, you called the Argentina effect, I guess. The comparison was a perfect one because pretty much after the tournament, I was just so obsessed and so excited about the tournament still. I watched all the interviews with players after, and they all had pretty much the same thing to say, Jeff, was that it was almost a good thing. Nobody wants to describe a loss as a good thing, but they pretty much said, hey, you know what? This could have been a blessing in disguise to kind of get a kick in the ass, a little bit of a wake-up call, because they were pretty dominant in the pre-tournament games. A lot of people don't realize, they don't just show up and then start the tournament, right? These guys have training camp. They have exhibition games. It was a walk in the park. They could have all skated backwards and played those games and won them, right? So I think it might have been a good thing for them to lose the Czech.
As you know, I love the juniors. I love talking to juniors. It's kind of nice because in the social media market on gambling, Twitter, whatever we want to call it, there's not a lot of people talking about the juniors, and it's a breath of fresh air, just like you and I come when we talk Canadian football.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's fun to talk about the niche sports, and here's a funny thing too. And you're an American, so you can correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I had people saying, look at Andrew, going and having a bunch of drinks and partying to cheer on a bunch of 17 and 18-year-olds. If I'm not mistaken, don't Americans pack the house for high school football? Those guys are 16, 17 too, right? I mean, am I wrong about that? I thought I've seen high school football is like Friday Night Lights. We've all seen the show. I mean, it is just, every single Canada game had 10,600 people there at the arena I grew up going to all the time. Every weekend I can to go see games. And it's just cool because I haven't seen that building that packed since Nathan McKinnon and Jonathan Drouin played for the Halifax Mooseheads hockey team in junior when they were going to that Memorial Cup, and everybody knew what kind of player McKinnon was going to turn into. And it was honestly, I felt a lot of pride seeing people say great things about my city and all the players saying they've never really been to the East Coast and they were impressed by the crowd. It was funny, Jeff. I live 2 hours away from there. I got a call from a buddy who waited in line at the box office. A lot of people didn't realize that they were releasing tickets the day of the game. So I got a call around 5:20 when the game started at 7:30, 7:40. He calls me. He goes, "Get in your car right now." And he pretty much just hangs the phone up right away. And I was like, "What's going on?" He goes, "I got 2 tickets. They're not together, but you're going. Drive right now. We're leaving." So in a matter of, and the thing is, I knew I was probably going to be staying for the next day if they won the semifinal game. So I had to go pick up my dog and pack a bag in probably a matter of like 5 minutes. I'm on the road and I'm all excited. And 2 hours later, I'm at the game cheering on Canada against USA. It was a great game. I'll tell you what, that game was tough to see 2 goals get called off because as a Canadian, even I don't want to see them win that way. That's international hockey, the crease violations, goaltender interference, but I hated seeing the game decided that way, especially in the rivalry. We all know that Canada and the US have, but it was kind of cool that it came full circle, as you talked about, where they lose the Czech in the first game of the round robin, and the way the bracket played out, they were able to play Czech in the finals, and they almost were coasting to a victory, a 2-0 shutout victory. And in a matter of 2 shifts, the game is tied 2-2, and we're going to overtime. And I'll tell you what, you could have heard a pin drop in that arena after that second goal was scored. People were shocked. And I remember just saying to my friends, when we met up, there was like a 10-minute break before overtime. And it was just like, not to make it sound too sentimental, but it was just nice to look around and just be like, how awesome has this week or two been? I lost my voice. I'm screaming, having fun. Felt like a kid again, and here we are going to overtime in the World Juniors. Because all of my friends, we would have been watching that game together, right? We would have all been at somebody's house, packed around the TV, watching that game. If it was in Sweden, Buffalo, no matter where it would have been, but it was just so cool to be able to be there. But the funny thing is, we were like, this is going to be really fun, unless we lose. Like this could be one of the best nights. The streets where people were screaming, having fun. But I gotta say, Jeff, I was cheering for a good game, and we got one. Same thing, a lot of the Canada games I went to, you almost want to see a competitive game, but you just don't want to see them lose. And seeing an overtime was pretty great. But I gotta ask your thoughts. I mean, 3-on-3 overtime to decide a gold medal game. It's fun to watch, but even the players said, like, let's do 5-on-5. It's Canada won, and it was great to see, but it's tough to see a 3-on-3 in a gold medal game.
Well, first and foremost, take your bow here, because on our show a few weeks ago, you talked about the Czechs at 7-1 plus 650, and there they are in the gold medal game. There they are 2-2 going to overtime. So, take a bow there. You turned a lot of people on that watched this show to say, hey, I got a 6.5, 7-1. Canada's the favorite. There's an easy middle profit. Thank you. And now let's go enjoy the game. They are number one. Number two, it's the same thing, regular season hockey, go to what, 4-on-4, I think it is. And then, go to a shootout. We talked about Argentina. We talked about the World Cup. They play 90 minutes. Then they go out and they play, 2 more 15 minutes. And then they go to a shootout, sudden death. 5-shot penalty kick.
Yeah.
So, it's almost like there's no way to keep you unhappy. Go to NHL playoff hockey. It's first goal. I've sat through 2 and 3 overtimes. These guys just played 60. Now they played another 20. Now they played another 20. And now they're into the third 20. They played 2 games to decide who won the game before.
It's crazy. What was it last year with Pittsburgh? Who were they playing? I can't remember. Pittsburgh and was it Carolina? I don't know if it was Carolina. I can't remember who it was, but it was the reason why I remember is because they had their goalie injuries, and Louis Domingue came in. He was the third goalie, and they asked him, so what did you guys do between periods? He's like, oh, I had spicy pork and broccoli. He's like, we're all eating meals because they're losing so many calories, right, while they're out there. And like you said, if you're playing 5 or 6 periods, you're almost playing 2 games in one. But it was cool. The goal they scored. So the irony is I was able to get a package that I bought for some of the earlier Canada games. I got super lucky. My friend waited in line and we got face value tickets for the semifinals. But I'm not going to lie to you, Jeff. I splurged on the gold medal tickets. I said to myself all day, I was like, I got to go to this game. No matter what it is, I got to go to this game. I was 3 rows up from the glass, right there where Canada scored their goal. And I got to send you this picture because there's a picture that was actually posted by Hockey Canada. And it's me right on the glass, like banging the boards with all the players celebrating right behind me after they scored the golden goal. So it's pretty exciting. Yeah. I think I might get that framed, like just to get like that memory. It's pretty cool. Like it's, a real nice camera picture, like from the actual team and stuff like that. But what are your thoughts on, those guys that play that tournament and then they go right back? I mean, right back to whatever else they were doing, like I've been exhausted just watching enough of these interviews, these guys. I can only imagine, like, I've got so much respect for people that are humble, hockey players, co-hosts like yourself and everybody that we work with. It's nice you want to work with people that are humble and very nice people, but these people that play the game, they get asked so many questions that are the exact same, right? Like they do a million interviews a week and they get asked the same questions. And Bedard seems like a really, really nice kid, he does. And whether he's raised the right way or has the right media training, could be all the same. But, I've seen about 6, 7, 8 people either asking other players, like teammates of his, about Bedard, or Bedard getting asked himself, how he deals with the pressure, all this, the same questions. And I just want to know what you think about these guys that they play that and then immediately snap of a finger, they're right back to their junior teams or right back to their pro team. I mean, Gunther scores the game-winning goal for Team Canada. 3 days later, he's talking to Sidney Crosby, who scored that golden goal in the Olympics, before he plays against the Pittsburgh Penguins in the NHL. I mean, it's crazy, And then Shane Wright gets traded, Zellweger gets traded. It's crazy how all this stuff works.
I guess the easiest way that I would say it is that they are groomed differently than most people. In other words, they started out young in those rinks at 4 or 5 a.m. getting their ice time. They've been building it up through their AAU programs or whatever type of hockey programs that they're going through. They're getting primed because a lot of these guys, their goal is the NHL. So where are they going to college? Are they going to the BUs? Are they going to the St. Clouds or wherever? Are they staying back home playing in Canada? And then so they're almost like this is their life at such a young age, being groomed for exactly this. And where you and I would be starstruck and hey guys, I need a couple of weeks off here before I could jump back into reality.
Well, did you see that Bedard's first game back for Regina, which is in the Western Hockey League in Canada, he scored 4 goals and had 2 assists. He had 6 points in his first game, and they asked him, hey, any chance that you were going to sit that game out, the first? He goes, well, no, I mean, it's a big game for the playoff race. My team lost to them last week. I want to get them to win. And he goes out there and scores 4 goals. Not only that, Jeff, he scores a goal 12 seconds into the game. I mean, that's crazy. One thing I wanted to bring up, because I figured you'd find this entertaining, and this is like in the Canadian Hockey League, so I didn't know if you saw this stuff, but junior hockey here, it works in funny ways because people like it, or some people really don't like this, but there's not much of a middle of the pack in the CHL. There's either really good teams or really bad teams. You're either tanking or you're trading off assets to go to the top. So, when the deadline happens, which is after Christmas or just before Christmas, you see these teams that are in the hunt for the Memorial Cup or their certain league. So the Memorial Cup is the entire CHL, and then you have your own conference, the OHL, QMJHL, and WHL. They all make these crazy trades, right? Like junior hockey trades are like a video game. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because after the World Juniors were over, none of these players were allowed to be traded during the tournament because it would be a distraction and just wouldn't be fair. So pretty much the day after the tournament was over, all these players got traded, including Shane Wright, Zellweger, and all these players. I wanted to bring this one up to you because I figured you'd find this interesting. And some people always joke around saying, well, it was probably the last pick that made the decision. So Zellweger, who was a great defenseman for Team Canada, Ryan Hoffer, those two players were traded for a forward, two defensemen, another forward, a 2023 first round pick, 2023 second round pick, 2023 fourth round pick, 2024 first round pick, 24 fifth round pick, 25 first round pick, 26 first round pick, 26 second round pick, and a 26 sixth round pick for two players. So if I read that properly, that's 3 first round picks, some second round picks thrown in there. And don't forget about that 6th round pick in 2026, because that's the one that really decided it. But Jeff, how crazy is that? I mean, that's how junior, and people think, well, it's not a big deal because they'll get those assets back by trading some guys away next year or whatever. But don't you feel like that's insane? Like, should that even be allowed to be possible?
No, it reminds me of two things. Apples and oranges, but the Herschel Walker trade, when you want someone that is that big, I mean, they traded their whole draft away. Here, we'll take Herschel Walker. You can have our draft there. Some of these other moves. It reminds me of this is I'm one player away from winning the fantasy league this year. I got 4 or 5 guys on my bench. You're going nowhere. We'll use this as a dynasty effort here. You're going nowhere. I got 4 or 5 guys on my bench that will start on your team this year, if not this year and next year. And so I'm going to help you build your roster, but I'm built ready to win now. And people just they got the blinders, they got the thought process. Hey, I want this guy. I don't care what it takes. You know, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm reading on social media. And I don't know who's stirring the pot here, but, you know, Chicago taking offers on Justin Fields, the Bears. And hey, listen, we're going to take offers on Justin Fields here. What do you want for a ready-made quarterback? And we're going to go draft Bryce Young, or we're going to go draft C.J. Stroud, you know. So I guess if you got the right PR, you got the right media network, you can sell ice to an Eskimo. Yeah. It only takes one. Yeah,
it's crazy. I mean, wouldn't you think like 3 first round picks would be a lot already? But then you got to throw in some seconds and the 4th here and the 5th. I mean, it's crazy. But here's the difference between that and the NFL, because I agree with what you're saying. In the NFL, like sometimes you see, I mean, look at the Russell Wilson move even, you know? I mean, one team is in the playoffs and one team isn't. And Geno Smith broke all of his records, right? But what's crazy about this, Jeff, is that Zellweger, first of all, is a defenseman, not even a forward that's going to be like a game breaker, right? But he's going to only play this year with them. After the playoffs are over, he's done. He's going to be done with. So it's not like they're trading for the future. It's literally, it's like it's Memorial Cup or bust. Like even if they make their final league, like of their league, that might not even be enough for how much they just gave up. It's crazy. And they another team did the exact same thing with Shane Wright. So I guess this was the deadline for an NHL team to send their player down, because Shane Wright's now played in the AHL, NHL, and now he'll be back in Ontario Hockey League. Could you imagine 1 minute you're flying around on private jets eating steaks, and next minute you're back on a 7-hour bus ride? That'd be a little bit rough. But I just wanted to bring that up because I thought, you know, it's related to hockey here, and it's quite interesting how they just throw away their picks. And you know I follow junior hockey, so I thought that was pretty cool.
No, it is. And again, not to compare other sports, but like in the NBA, they usually say if you're not in the top 3, 4, sometimes in a good draft, the top 5, what's it matter if you got the 15th pick or the 27th pick? Right. So those teams that are doing real good, let's just say the Bucks, the Lakers of the world, back in the heyday, whatever. Listen, I'll give you my next 3-year first-round picks because they're not going to be worth anything anyways. So you think you're getting volume when we're just basically giving you guys that most likely 9 out of 10 aren't even going to make our roster.
Right. Good point. Good point. Yeah. Well, like they were trying to trade Connor Bedard. And they were just like, well, it's just ridiculous because nobody will give us what we want, what he's worth. Like if what I just told you was for a defenseman, imagine what are you going to do? Sell your team? You're going to give away your arena? You're going to give your mascot and 5 other players? Like, what could you give to a team for Connor Bedard? The thing is, I feel bad for Bedard because he just wants to win wherever he is, and hockey is the kind of sport that you just can't do it on your own, right? And I told you he had 6 points in his first game back. His team is like middle of the pack, so that is tough because you look at when McKinnon played when he was in juniors, they traded away everybody possible to try and build a team around him, and they are able to do it. But Bedard, their team is horrible, but they can't trade for him because they literally have come out and said we won't get enough in return. What would you ask for that guy?
Well, that's the whole thing. If whoever has Bedard right now, we know he's going to get drafted number 1 this year in the NHL. And you only had, it's like that free agent window in baseball. Listen, we know you're not resigning with us. So you're going to go out to free agency. Mookie Betts, for instance. We knew he wasn't coming back. What can we get for him? And you're going to rent him for the next 3 months. Right. And at least we're going to have potentially some stars that come up in our system that won't be Mookie Betts that will replace him. So like a Bedard, that haul that you just talked about there, can you just imagine if someone called around to the teams up near the top of that league and said, hey, we're shopping Bedard around? They'd give away their cousin's,
Yeah.
Just for that one chance. Hey, because if they're not filling the arena, you add Bedard and there's no tickets left and a chance to win this year, knowing that he's going to be in the NHL next year.
You know what? I didn't think of it like that as far as financial stuff is concerned too. You'd make some good money even in that 4 or 5 months. Yeah. As a team. If you're the owner, I mean, your eyes will be like Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob. All you'll see is dollar signs. It'll be, you see a player like that. It's true. It's true. And you look at the NHL right now with some of these teams. It's one of the most competitive leagues right now out there. I mean, you look at who could explain the Coyotes beating the Leafs 4 games in a row, right? You just don't see that in the NBA. You just don't see it. I mean, you're not going to see the worst team in the NBA consistently beating one of the better teams. It's just not how it works in a certain league like that. That's why I love hockey, because it can happen, and every team has the capability of beating each other. It's just shocking to look at, and the marketing that they've done in the NHL this year, the game has actually been growing a lot. The percentages for viewers, fans, jerseys being purchased, it's really great to see more people are falling in love with hockey.
Speaking of hockey, before we tiptoe into the NFL Super Wildcard Weekend, but when I bring you on, we're talking pucks here. Pucks, props, futures, whatever you want to talk about. Tonight, I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 games. Last night on the ECSI VIPs, again, what we tried to do is we're not taking a minus 160, 170, minus 200 favorite. But if we think the team's going to do well, if we think the team most likely is going to win, how do we get in there? And obviously last night, the Capitals team total over 3.5 plus 105. You get down 4-1, you make it 4-3. Here's again what, as you know, I can't stand. And listen, I know there's 2 teams on the ice, and I know sometimes that, certain teams are chippy. Maybe they're just tired or whatever. They're a step behind. 6-1 in the penalties last night between the Caps. And wrong side. It was. They end up losing the game 5-3 on an empty netter. How you doing in pucks? Big board today. So I know that you must be salivating there.
It is a big board, and Jeff, it's been up and down. I'll be honest, I'm not satisfied for this season. It's I'm slightly above 500. Like I haven't lost. I'm not in the negative, but I'm not up like I'd like to be with clients and as far as my NHL season is concerned. But the risk management has been really good. I mean, I've been excuse me, sorry about that. I've really been careful with, like you said, not taking a big favorite and taking a team total or regulation or stuff like that or props. So it's going pretty well. Last night I had the over in the Oilers game and I had the first period puck line for the Oilers, but I had these Sharks team total under, and they score a late one in the third period to take that away from me. But it's a big board tonight. I really like it quite a bit. Just got to take one quick drink here, Jeff, and then I'll be good.
I'm just doing a quick eye test while you're taking a drink. What some of the numbers that really stick out on me? I got a good buddy of mine, fan, always talking about the Sabres and how they score so many goals. And the one time that we take them, they're still stuck on stupid. But they're playing the Jets tonight at home. They're a short minus. Jets minus 120. I'll go to circa minus 130 plus 119 on the Sabres, but an over under of 6.5 there. Our Bruins numbers, I tell you, the numbers sneaky here. Bruins minus 222. You can get the Kraken plus 200 with a 6 there. The Leafs minus 142 at Detroit. That looks too easy. We know what happens there. Rangers minus 127 against the Stars with a 5.5, opened at 6, now 5.5 under over. Predators at Montreal. I know you could talk for hours about your Canadians right now. Predators plus 168, Canadians plus 153. I mean, outside looking in, the Habs just can't score. They just cannot score. And when they do score, they give up a lot more than they do score there.
Yeah.
The Flames at the Blues. The Flames, everyone in our lanes is waiting for them to get moving. They're stuck on stupid as well. Minus 162. You can get the Blues plus 148 again with a 5.5 under over. Avs minus 309 at the Blackhawks. Ottawa and Arizona. Ottawa minus 150. Arizona plus 137 at a 6.5. And I think the game of the night, you'll probably agree with me. Florida at Vegas. Florida overnight number, Vegas minus 135 with a 6.5. Right now it's circa. Vegas minus 110. Panthers minus 100, still with a 6.5 juice over minus 115. And again, another team stuck on stupid, the Florida Panthers, as we're waiting for them to get back on track.
Yeah, consistency is not something they're very strong in. That's for sure, that Florida Panthers team. Let's start with the Bruins, Jeff. I mean, take a look at them taking on Seattle tonight. First of all, the Bruins, I mean, how well they've been playing, especially at the Garden. Everybody keeps on saying, well, they can't sustain this. They can't do this for 82 games. They can't keep coming back. They can't keep closing out games strong. Well, good luck to everybody else that wants to go against that. What I will go against, though, is that they'll be able to continue to only allow 2 goals a game. That's what I'll go against, Jeff. I like the over tonight. I mean, Seattle, they're a team that I thought I was going to see some regression from. It hasn't happened yet, but I'll tell you what, they're scoring, but they might not be able to defend tonight. It's been a long road trip for them. You know, they've got to have their bellies full. They've got to be happy with how the road trip has gone so far. No doubt about that. And then you go into the Bruins against, the top dog, the top team, a team that is way deeper than I think a lot of people expected with Zaka, with Taylor Hall, with a guy in Foligno that's been chipping in. And of course, you throw Krejci into the picture. He's a guy that just came back to them. And then you've got the perfection guys with Pasternak and Marchand and Bergeron, and they're playing very well. But also Allmark. I mean, Allmark, you talked about at the start of the year. There was no question that he's the guy. There people were questioning it, but it didn't become a question mark anymore. I like the over in this game, over 6. It's the Bruins are a great under team. I understand they defend very well. But I do like the angle that it's been a lot of games on the road for Seattle. Their games always start quick. There've been a lot of pace. We have seen a lot of high shot counts from them as well. I lean towards the Bruins side in that game, but I think we could see some goals from both clubs. And I think we'll see that throughout the entirety of the game, not just one period, not just 10 minutes. I think we'll see lots of shots. And, when you look at a team like the Bruins, whenever they have a bad game, they play well the next, or if they have a mediocre game. And this is a team that statistically has been giving up chances, but it's not showing yet on the scoreboard, and I'm not someone that brings up analytical stuff very often, but I have noticed some of the numbers and websites I look at have said that, hey, the Bruins might not be playing as well defensively right now as they were before. We're just not seeing that on the score sheet. So I think over 6 is gonna happen tonight at the Garden between the Bruins and the Kraken. That's the first play that stuck out to me on the board tonight.
So if I dig a little deeper into that game, Kraken team total 2.5 juiced under -120, like every team coming into Boston is. The Bruins 3.5 over -125. Again, Bruins, I'll use circa today. So Jeffrey Benson, Mr. Metcalf, and Mr. Stevens, we're right here over here. We're giving you a free plug and shout out today. -222 for the Bruins, +200, flat 6, -110, either which way on the under over there. If I asked you, as you said, you think Seattle might break that, would you feel more comfortable with the 6, or you get a little cute taking the even, meaning Seattle over 2.5 +100? Or do you like the juice on the Bruins side? Hey, listen, I think the Bruins are going to win. I'm not obviously laying the 222. I really don't want to get into regulation, which shuts me out of the overtime there. I'm not going to lay the puck line, but Bruins to get to 4 is only costing me 25 cents.
Yeah, I wouldn't talk anybody out of that one. I think that it would be getting a little bit cute with the Seattle one, because I do think the Bruins are going to win the game. The amount of goals Seattle scores to me is I need at least 2 out of them for the full game over, I'd say, right? But I'd say if I was picking a team to select, it would be the favorite tonight. It would be taking the Bruins at a smaller price just to get 4 goals here. Like I said, the Seattle Kraken, they play a very open style of hockey. It kind of reminds me of what Martin St. Louis wants the Canadians to do. They just don't have the talent and the experience yet. Their team is very young. But if you notice, they I'm not saying they're poor defensively, don't get me wrong, but they play pretty much the opposite of like locking it down when they have a lead, right? They don't shut down their own end. They continue to pressure. That's why they put up 8 goals on Ottawa. I'm pretty sure they put up like 8 goals on Ottawa. They're not really the kind of team that will slow down, which I think is really nice, because if the Bruins are beating them or if they're beating the Bruins, it doesn't really change their game plan, which is really nice. So, and the Bruins, I'm telling you, I feel like, first of all, at home, we know how well they play, but I feel like even though they're playing well, let's take a look at the numbers here. I mean, against Pittsburgh, that game was close. Let's see here, because I thought I looked.
Don't forget that was at Fenway too, in 50-degree weather.
Right. So, going back here. So against Winnipeg 3-2, New Jersey 4-3, Ottawa 3-2 game, New Jersey 3-1, 4-3, 2-1. So there's been a handful of games I'm trying to say here for the Bruins that have been 1-goal games, 2-goal game. Every single game that they play isn't a blowout. The Bruins blow out some, but that's what makes them so good this year, is that they aren't just blowing out teams. They've won a lot of close games. So I guess my point is I do think Seattle can contribute, but I'd be fearful of them walking into this game saying, we've had a pretty good road trip. We're in Boston. We'll have a good time. We'll go out for some drinks. And so maybe like a 5-2 type of game here for the Bruins, 5-3. That's where I'd go here.
That was going to be my next point. Is the fact is, again, the plus money, you're going into the teeth, meaning we did that once this year. We've had a few unders on the opponent's team total not getting the 3 cashed. One over was the Vegas one with the Cassidy angle. With the fact of the matter is the Bruins were 14-0 at home. In comes Cassidy. Vegas scored 2 in the first 3 minutes, and then they got the third one early in the second period. They eventually won that game in overtime. So again, to cash an over 6 ticket, you're either going to need at least 3 from Seattle, most likely, or the Bruins obviously getting to 5 is probably the magic number.
Yeah. So whenever I'm on the show with you, Jeff, you always talk me into a team total. And the more I'm listening to this, the more I kind of like the Bruins team total. But I'll just stick with the full game over here. But feel free to throw any games at me. I'm looking across the board right now. It's PK Subban night in Montreal, and it's kind of funny that they're honoring him tonight against the team they traded him away to. I don't know if that's kind of satire or if that's a nice gesture or not. But they're playing the Nashville Predators. Nashville, of course, they've also been on a little bit of a mini road trip as well through the Eastern Conference. And it's funny you mentioned about Montreal not scoring very well, because I haven't really been on them at all recently, and rightfully so. I've been against them or not playing. Something tells me we could see over 2.5 team total be a play tonight, because the Nashville Predators are a different team when Saros is not between the pipes. Like, the NHL these day and age, the starting goalie to the backup usually isn't a big drop off, but I feel like for the Nashville Predators, it is. But do I want to count on Montreal to win a hockey game? No, thank you. I'll count on them maybe to get me over 2.5 team total goals if I was to go and take a look at that one. And an interesting one to me as well is the Rangers. I like the Rangers tonight. I feel like they're in kind of an interesting spot against the Stars. They're getting like -120. I feel like they're a team about to go on a run here. They won 4 of the last 5 games. Dallas have been playing inconsistent. They're looking forward to getting back at home and playing some games there where they play their best hockey. And then, of course, the night game. I mean, I got to say, I'm going to use the same expression. Teams having their belly full, being satisfied. I think that might be the story for the Panthers. Even though they haven't played exceptional over the past few weeks, they've had a decent road trip. And Vegas at home off a loss is always something I look at, especially when it's a bad loss. I think they lost 5-1 their last game at home, 4-1. If you have it in front of you, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Florida tonight might be in tough against Vegas. What do you think?
Yeah, I tried to go in. I want to say it was the Avs. I may be wrong. Maybe this will help me if I can find it. We went against Vegas. I think it was last week in the same spot. And Vegas blew them out 2-0, 3-0. I'll find it. Oh, it's the Pittsburgh game, 5-2. We had there was a lot of movement on Pittsburgh. It was basically, I think by the drop of the puck, Pittsburgh was -115, 120, and Vegas got out early 2-0 after one. They mopped them. Looking at the Panthers here, nice win 5-4 at Colorado. They lose 5-1 at Dallas. They beat Detroit 3-2. That was the night we had you on Sports Map Radio and the Diehards. Hilarious. We have team total over on the Panthers 3.5. Red Wings pull the goalie with 4 minutes to go, down 3-1, and they score quickly. So they put the goalie back in, and then the Panthers get a breakaway empty netter, and me and Pepe are doing high fives as we're broadcasting live. And next thing you know, there was a delayed penalty back in the Panther end, so the goal doesn't count, and it lands on 3-2. On this app right here, Knights 5-1 loss to the Kings. That is a bad loss. Prior to that, wins against Pittsburgh, win at Colorado, win against Nashville, and a loss at the Ducks. So I would look at the Anaheim game as a bad loss. They win 3 in a row. And then obviously the Kings looks like a bad loss. So I kind of like where your eyes are there.
It's funny because the Panthers are a team that I like when you say in our lanes. People in our lanes are waiting for them to get better. And they have not been the same since Remember the incident that I don't even think incident's the right word to use here. I don't know the right word to use, but when their coach had to be fired last year, Jeff, because of the Chicago stuff, they have not been the same team since then. They really haven't. I mean, their coaching I don't think anyway, personally, I don't think that they play hockey the same way. I don't think that they have that same defensive structure. I don't think they know how to close out games. And let's not forget, they're paying Bobrovsky $10.5 million. They're paying him what Carey Price was making for the Canadians. People said that Price's contract was too much. At least he was doing what he did. Bobrovsky shouldn't be making that much. And I got to say, Kachuk is someone that I said, I don't know if he can fill the role for Huberdeau. He's played well over there. He definitely has played well over there. But they definitely haven't looked like a deep roster. That's been their biggest issue. But you know what's nice is that we still get good prices like this. In a game I think is a good one for the Vegas Golden Knights at home. And let's not sit here and say that Florida's not going to be up for it. They might be up for it, but I think Vegas gets the job done. It's one of those scenarios where I talked about it with another game earlier about the Seattle Kraken. Seattle's going to be interested in the game. They're going to be up for it, but are they tired from their road trip? Are they coming in expecting the other games to be as easy as the 3 games prior were? That's kind of the stuff I think about. And Vegas is a team that I like to bet on off a loss. Some teams off a loss I want to stay away from, and I've talked about this, and I like because now that we exchange picks, you've been doing these too sometimes, the first period puck lines, and it might even catch my eye tonight, but I could just, it's a reasonable enough price to just take the first period on the money line if I wanted to, but that might be a play I would look at as well, just for Vegas to catch Florida off guard in the first period.
It's so funny because I pulled up the Circa app and I was looking at that. Minus 109 both sides in the first period. If you really wanted to get cute, you could take Vegas minus a half goal plus 175 tonight, which takes big cojones. But Vegas, again, when they're at home, usually they score in the first 5 minutes, and usually they're 10 minutes in, they got that 2-0 lead, which you can breathe a sigh of relief. And I don't know if you noticed or you heard or you're watching, not counting last night, but going back, today's Thursday. So going back from Monday, the late games Monday, and Tuesday, a 10-0 spot. First period overs were on like a 14-0 run.
Yes. Yeah, it's unbelievable to watch that stuff. Like, it's crazy. And I'll tell you what, too, if you ever notice this stuff, Jeff, if you're watching a game and there's one goal in the first period and he feels like there should have been 3 or 4, every single time it's like it's clockwork that in the start of the second period there'll be a goal right away. It happens all the time if you have a first period over. But yeah, those bets that could be a good one too in this game actually tonight. Vegas's first period over 1.5. But with the game expected to be a high scoring game, you're not getting as good of odds on that one. But sometimes, Jeff, what I'll do, and I'm trying to keep it professional because this might be a little bit of a degen bet to do, but sometimes I'll literally parlay 2 different games to go over 1.5 goals in the second period. People have asked me recently, which is why I brought this up, why are certain periods more high scoring than the other? And 1.5s in the first period have gone well, but the second period is statistically the highest scoring period in hockey. If you look pre-game at the odds, the over 1.5 in each period is way more juice to the second period. Because a lot of times, unless you're the Vegas Golden Knights, it takes 5 to 6 minutes for teams to settle into the hockey game. So all of a sudden, the game is starting and there's 14 to 13 minutes left in the first period. The second period, a team is down, a team got a chance to watch some film, a team got a talking to from their coach, they're warm already, they go out there. And that stuff is kind of interesting because instead of looking at live overs for a full game, you can look at that second period to be high scoring and the third period can completely shut down. So just some interesting stuff to look at because I feel like everybody's fallen in love with these first period overs, but I've actually been betting second period overs for a long time now.
So is your Vegas full game money line?
Yes.
See what Circa says there. -110, we'll say there.
I am intrigued by the first period, but I feel like it because of the travel, it almost would be a stronger play to just let the full 60 minutes ride out.
Anything else pop out at you before we go over to the pigskin?
I guess I'll say this. Anybody that's interested in my player props ever, Alex Tuck, he's the guy to look at for today, Jeff. Over 2.5 shots on goal on a big streak there. Darnell Nurse in the Edmonton Oilers, when he plays, he's on a massive streak right now as well. You want to catch these guys near the beginning or in the middle of their streak. You don't want to get them when they're tailing off. So when I come on your show, I like to try and come ready with at least one or two guys. But today's guy is Alex Tuck.
Alex, over 2.5. Is Nurse 2.5 as well?
His is 2.5. Yeah, they're not playing today, but his is nice because there's not a lot of juice on it. With the defenseman, you don't get that a lot, but with Tuck, I think you got to lay some on that one.
Well, they're calling it, I guess, Super Wild Card Weekend. Why? I have no bleep idea why. I guess more propaganda. We had 2 games on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, and 1 on Monday. Some lines have adjusted with more information that we've gotten. The Bills now 12.5 at Circa. Obviously, Tua is not playing, and in comes Skylar Thompson there. The Baltimore Ravens and the Bengals, that one smelt to holy heaven the start of the week. Why? Because the Bengals played the Ravens last week. The line opened at 9, closed at 11, and we know the history on that game there. Now they're playing the same exact game. I saw some 6s, some 6.5s, some 7s, and I think they were holding out hope that Lamar was going to play, who still hasn't practiced since December 4th. In comes, it looks like Hundley's going to play. Well, that line this morning is now 9.5 there. But on Saturday, 49ers, 9 and a hook with a 42 and a hook against the Seahawks. The Chargers now 2.5 with a 47.5 against the Jags. Anything wetting your whistle on Saturday?
I want to mention something from Ralph Michaels. He talked about this all the time during the year, but especially in the playoffs here. Double-digit NFL playoff favorites have covered 11 straight times. That's pretty impressive, for anybody out there that's wondering how these big favorites do in a playoff game. Well, according to the numbers, don't be scared to lay it if you're playing it, because a lot of the times these big favorites in the super wild card weekend, like you said, have done pretty well. Well, in the first game there, I will talk just quickly about the Seattle 49ers matchup. Nobody thought Seattle would be there. Nobody thought, people had them near the bottom of their power rankings in general in the whole NFL, and you've got a good young running back, a defense that surprised people quite a bit, I would say, a quarterback that did his job, wasn't, shocking people with his numbers as far as like throwing bombs downfield, but he actually was breaking records at the same time, just getting lots of completions, throwing good, solid drives together. I worry about the Seattle Seahawks if that game gets out of hand early. You've got some great running backs over in San Fran, not just McCaffrey, but several other guys that can get on the ground or that can catch a short ball and do something with it. I feel like that'll be a big key for San Fran, is that they are really good at holding a lead when they have it. They can utilize the clock. They can, hold the possession for a long time. So I'd probably lay it with San Fran. But what I would do is actually probably look at just their team total, because I feel like they're going to run up the score. I feel like Seattle, if they want to compete, they're going to have to, probably put up a bunch of points themselves. But I'll tell you what, Jeff, I'm not going to overthink this. This is a prop that I cashed in on all season long, it seems like. I think that as great as Kenneth Walker has been on the ground, and we have seen a good run game overall from Seattle, I'm going to have to look at Geno Smith, either pass completions or pass attempts this weekend. And I'm going to feel really strongly about either of those two. I think my pick will end up being the completions, because I think it's going to be, it might end up being a Mac Jones type of style where, as much as I say that San Fran's going to try and run the score up, Seattle is not going to want to give the ball back to San Fran. We might be seeing Geno Smith throwing 7 to 8 yard darts all game long. Nothing past 15, 20 yards, keeping it risky, playing it safe that way. So my strongest plays in that game might be just those prop plays. And what's so nice about those is that Seattle could lose by 20 points, and I could still see 23 completions for Geno Smith. And the best part really about that, Jeff, is I think in that scenario, it benefits me if they're losing because he has to throw. They can't be down 14 points and go into the ground game, right? They're going to have to throw the ball, which I think ultimately will help my play there as far as that one's concerned. Chargers, Jags. I mean, that one is just what everybody's talking about. That's the game that do you hop on the bandwagon with the Jags and Duval and join what they've done, and they've been so bad for so many years, or is the Chargers a team that can overcome some health and injury issues and at a lot of different positions, and maybe they have some experience that the Jags don't have? I'm not sure if they can or not, but I think we'll see points. I'm counting on a shootout in that game. That's where I've decided to go. I'm not sure if I'm going to go team totals or if I'm going to go full game. I do like the Jags, and I think that, if you can tease them up, it's a really good teaser weekend, let's be honest. But I think that the over is the play probably in that game. That I think between those two teams, there's lots of talent out there. I think it's a good possibility both quarterbacks throw an interception that could be costly for both teams. But I think overall we could see points in that game. Are you with me on that one?
It's funny because I'm looking at that game earlier in September. The Jaguars sneakily, nice word, Jeff, flew out to.
I use that one too.
Flew out to LA and they boat raced them. They beat the Chargers pretty handily. Now we have the hosting of the playoffs, and I'm looking at these numbers here. My sheet had a pick 'em with a 46.5. And now the public's taking it to a 2.5 with a 47.5. So if you just do the basic math with a 46, again, it's basically that 24-23 game. I talked earlier this week. I could see a 23-21 Jaguar lead, and then in comes what's his name, Dinky or whatever the kicker for the Chargers there kicks a 48-yarder at the buzzer, and they win 24-23. But right. You can also see both offenses moving the ball real well. Listen, Ingram has emerged. Zay Jones has had some big flashes. ETN rounding into form. Lawrence with his legs. And don't make the mistake, kid. Let's win the turnover battle. And on the other side, again, the Chargers played their starters, and Big Mike's got back spasms. I think he'll be ready. Keenan Allen is healthy. Gerald Everett. I mean, no one talks about one of the best backs in the game with Austin Eckler. And we all know what Herbert can do. So I see where your eyes are. I got the popcorn ready, and I'm hoping for a shootout over there.
That'll be a fun one. That might be one of the more fun ones to watch all weekend. I mean, I'll tell you about a game I don't think will be fun is the game on Monday. That's my favorite under of the weekend. That's a game that you're hearing the sharps, the squares, the parallelograms. They're all arguing over the side or total, or the sides in that one as far as the favorite or dog. I like the under. Cowboys, Buccaneers. Show me lots of running. Show me lots of incompletions. And when I see completions, I don't expect them to be long ones. Give me the under in the Bucs and Cowboys.
I had a 3 with a 44.5. It's down to 2.5. I think Monday, especially after everyone's licking their wounds from their tough weekend. You're going to be running Tom Brady. Never lost to Dallas. Tom Brady comes to the Bucs, favored 2 years ago at home by 5.5. They beat them. They didn't cover, though. And then this year they were opened up in Dallas, 2-point favorites, and they win that game. Yet Dallas opened up 3-point favorites on Monday. I don't get that one. Tom's never lost to them. the six rings and the, all that other stuff. So just a little hint to where I'm leaning on Monday there on that game. And it was funny. We had Julian on Tuesday, and they had already had the odds up. And I've sent this to a few people that have asked the question, and I'm just going to throw it to you as a topic here for a second. Everyone's got either Philly or San Fran come out of the NFC, and they most likely have Philly hosting San Fran, where Philly will be -1, a pick 'em, maybe San Fran -1 by kickoff. If I told you on DraftKings, Philly's +175 to win the NFC. The 49ers are +180 to win the NFC. The Cowboys are only +500 to win the NFC. Now think about that for a second here, okay? Because they're only 2.5-point favorites at the Bucks versus a team and a quarterback that's never lost to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
And if Dallas finds a way, and I say finds a way because we know McCarthy and Dak in the playoffs, it doesn't usually end well, okay?
No.
If they find a way and San Fran beats Seattle, then they're going to have to go to San Fran. Now, since the McCaffrey trade, San Fran hasn't lost. The Brock star hasn't lost. They'll be at home. I think, if my mind's correct right now, I think San Fran will be about 3.5, 4-point favorites. But the fact of the matter is, again, they're only +500. That number smells to me like, all right, everyone talk about Philly, everyone talk about San Fran, and we're going to let Dallas slip in the back door.
I'm just not a Dak fan, Jeff. That's the thing. But I get it. As far as the numbers are concerned, if you get by that game, you're having a great ticket. That's the thing, and you're holding a great number. I mean, I like the way you're looking at things. I mean, let's look at the other side of that bracket. You've got is nobody talking about the Giants or the Vikings? Are those
no? Well, I'll tell you this: the public seems, we've called. No, I'm not going to say we because I haven't. Minnesota is the frauds, okay? A team for 2 years in a row that led the NFL in losses in one-possession games. So now they happen to flip the switch, and they win those games, and their point difference is in the negatives. But all of a sudden, everyone's jumping on the Giants as, I don't see Phil Simms there. I don't see Eli Manning there, but everyone in the whole world's on the Giants. What intrigues me in that game is that if I told you the highest under-over of the weekend is the Giants in Minnesota, it's at 48.5 in some spots. So I'm eyeing the over in that one. But the fact of the matter is, some of the sharps think the Giants are going to win this game and then go into Philly and beat Philly.
Yeah, I think the Giants are happy to be there. I think that to your point about that total, I don't know if it's going to be super high scoring by any means. I think that Minnesota might have to win a game where it's not as a shootout by any means. But there's 6 games this weekend. Would it surprise you if I told you that the favorites went 5-1? If we're talking on Tuesday, because
we're supposed to check off San Fran. We're supposed to obviously check off Buffalo. So there's 2 right there. Minnesota, Jacksonville, coin flips. Cincinnati's up tonight, so you're supposed to check them. So there's 3 right there. So, no, I think you're right. Everyone waiting for the train wreck. Which game's the train wreck?
Yeah, and I think that I think that this is the weekend you bet faves. Actually, in the following weekend is where you look at dogs. And, a real good point was raised, actually, that and you're so good with numbers, I wanted to ask this to you. How much do the scores of this week reflect what happens in the point spread for next week? Because I know a lot of people that are like, man, I hope the Bills friggin' kill the Dolphins so you get a good number fading them the next week. I've heard that from people. I mean, I've heard that they're saying, you know what? I would love to get nothing better than to get a great price on the Bengals plus, right? I want to see the Bengals or the Bills put up 40 points, just to get a good number. How much do you think on either side of the bracket this week's performance affects the point spread?
It affects it in the public's mind, meaning we remember what we saw last.
Yes.
Vegas and Chris, they have their numbers already branded grounded. They know from this season what the number should be. Now in the playoffs, do they take the home field and take it from a 1.5? Is now the home field in a playoff game valued at 2 or 2.5, maybe 3? I'll take it even one step further. I'll take a certain book, let's just say Circa, for instance. I can pull up data that says, okay, we know we're going to get $10 million in on the Bengals and Joe Burrow, but we're going to get $18 million in on the Bills this week. So what's the number set at so we can try to, get that closer so it's a 15-15. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, definitely. But and I think it's a good point as far as what have we done? What have we seen lately? What have you done for me lately? I think it's a good point. But I think in general, it might not be a good thing for a team to blow a team out too much. You talk about what we talked about at the start of the show with Team Canada. Losing at the start of their tournament. I know that's kind of a funny comparison, but you also don't want to go into your next matchup against probably a better team. Off a game where you won by 25 points. It might not be a good thing, but yeah, it's funny to look at because some of these trends you point towards dogs for this weekend, and then for certain scenarios like the one I mentioned, like it's almost like the shorter dogs this week, I'd say, have a better chance of covering than the bigger dogs. Does that make sense to you? I think
Sure.
that's kind of how I feel. I think that the bigger favorites are big favorites for a reason, and the short favorites are short phase for a reason. I think that can come through. Where a lot of people will say, no, I want to take the 10 points or 13 points you're getting with the Dolphins, but they might get blown out. Who knows?
Yeah, and I always like to say this: what side does Vegas want? Again, I am the firm believer that we get those overnight numbers before they're released. Okay. Vegas is telling us a story. Okay. Once that number is then released to the public does what it wants with it. But they're telling a story with the actual opening number. This is the true number. Now it's our job in our lanes to write the happy ending so we can win, grin, cash the ticket, and profit. So I'll take your Bills and Bengals to the next level. We haven't heard let's win it for DeMar. DeMar's actually, I think, on his way back home now. So
yes,
amazing what that guy does up there. We haven't heard the circle the wagons with DeMar or anything like that. So I don't know if that's coming as well here. But my point is if the Bills opened up at 2.5 next Sunday, if those two square off, that means in my eye they want Buffalo money because that number's going to go right to 3. If they opened up the Bills minus 3.5, they're telling me what? We want Cincinnati money because that's going to go right back to 3. See what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah.
So
I'm excited for this weekend, Jeff, but I'm more excited for the next weekend already. Are you a teaser guy? Do you make some teasers ever, or you stay away from those?
I try to stay away from them. My motto on teasers is they're a teaser up until kickoff. In other words, you could write down some of the greatest teasers in the history of pay, and there's no way in holy hell. I mean, why do I have to wait 4 hours to cash this ticket? It can't lose. And then, it just takes, one interception, one return to the house, whatever it is. And back in my younger days, absolutely, I love teasing. I have stayed away, but in certain circumstances, good friend of the show, longtime ECSI family guy, was stuck. He needed Seattle to lose for, say, a $600 future last Sunday, and he had no way out. And so I talked to him throughout the week. I says, hey, we can put together some money line parlays with Seattle, with some other teams that you think that are going to win. You could do some teasers with Seattle, with some other teams that you think are going to win. So instead of losing 650, maybe you can knock it down, maybe win 300-400 on the other side. So it doesn't sting as much as
right.
So how about you? You big teaser guy?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a big teaser guy. I'd say that in my experience with them, I've had a lot better luck teasing up than down. Like obviously I'm a fan of the key numbers, that's what you have to do, not going through zero and wasting a number and stuff like that. But I've had a much better experience overall taking a team up than I have taking a team, from 6 down to, pick 'em, stuff like that. So that's kind of just what I'd say about my experience with them. But I mean, this weekend, just on how it's setting up, a lot of people want to take a look at the Jags and tease them up, take a look at the Giants and tease them up. And you take a look at the Bucks. I mean, between those 3 teams, those are I know people that are doing 3-team 10-point teasers and taking the Bucks, Jags, and even you take a look at another matchup in the Ravens. I mean, not a lot of people think the Bengals are going to blow them out by any means. So it's interesting. And then, like I said to you about the Bills game, before that Dolphins game, or the Dolphins price changed as far because of Tua, you could have teased the Bills down and gotten the -2.5, which is a very key number. But now that's gone. So I think if people play teasers properly, it's the right way. I almost would say that those teasers should never be your main wager. That's just my opinion. Teasers shouldn't be bet as much as you bet on a regular single bet. But I don't think they're a bad bet by any means. I'll probably be in action with some. I think teasing the Jags up if you can is a really good bet. Honestly, this weekend.
No,
I think that game is a really, really good game to watch.
Absolutely. And I'm not poo-pooing anyone that does teasers. As you said, there are, looking at this week's card again, you're getting a 2.5, you're taking it to an 8.5, you're getting over the 7. So you're getting over the key number there. If you like the Jags, if you like the Giants, you're taking the 3, you're getting the Giants up to 9, and same with Tampa. Like, say you like Tampa. Well, I'm taking them from 2.5 to 8.5. That at least gets me over that 7 number. So again, if played and used correctly, I mean, I listen to Ralph, I listen to all those guys at Wager Talk, and numbers don't lie. They don't. And, the bottom line on a teaser is if you don't like them at 2.5, I know why you like them at 8.5. I get that part, but it's still basically a 1-possession game. In other words, you could be winning and covering the game the whole time, and then it was a pick 6. It was a turnover, or it's a 90-yard run trying to get the last first down to shut it down. So if that is your main focal point on a week-to-week basis, then good luck, because it's a tough nut, because you're adding another variable. That's all.
For sure. Yeah, and you have to have multiple results come through. It's not just one single bet.
Andrew, the crawler has been going the whole time. Thank God no one had the under in this show here. As again, everyone knows we could talk for hours, and hopefully sooner than later, maybe we're going to break this into 2 shows a week, so we can get more and more winners out there to everyone as we go. But on the crawler, where they can find you, obviously, is at McInnis Picks, obviously at Wager Talk, at Sports Mayflower. Go over to YouTube, Mayflower Sports, subscribe. It's free. But as we always do close, please, Andrew, tell everyone what you got cooking and where they can find you.
Yeah, I got some best bets in hockey tonight. One play in NCAA basketball. But most importantly, Jeff, I talk with you about it every couple weeks now. I do UFC all the time. People don't really know me for it, but I finished off 2022 on a 12-5, 70% best bet run. I've got a play going this weekend. It's a favorite, but very, very respectable. Not too much juice on the play, and it's a play I've been eyeing for a few weeks now. So check me out at Wager Talk, and we've got a great package going on right now for 7 days. So if anyone's interested in checking things out, don't want to buy for the full year or anything, you can grab just 7 days right now.
Always a pleasure, sir. We'll try to get back on the Wednesday schedule. I'll try
Awesome.
to, if we talk behind the scenes, I'll set a timer so we can make sure we get the show off the ground on Wednesday. But always a pleasure.
Fun.
From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from the one and only Andrew McInnis at McInnis Picks and at Wager Talk, we wish everyone a blessed afternoon to Super Wild Card Weekend, UFC, NHL, college hoops, you name it, we got it. So everyone have a blessed day, and we will see you soon.